From the beautiful campus of Casper College, it's the T-Birds Coaches Show, bringing you game breakdowns, expert analysis, and exclusive interviews. Here's your host, Tom Myler.
Hello, T-Bird fans, and of course, you guessed it, welcome back to another fantastic Casper College Coaches Show. Joining us once again in our studio, Coach Tom Parks. Welcome back. Thanks. You just seem so thrilled to be here, as always.
I am thrilled to be here. I enjoy this 30 minutes of my week. Genuinely. I don't know if that might have sounded sarcastic, but I do.
Well, we enjoy it, even if, maybe deep down you're like, oh, why do I have to do this again? But we still enjoy it, especially the fans, because they kind of get to pick your brain, see your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
Hear your thoughts more than see them. Seeing it might be weird if they're seeing your thoughts.
That's definitely weird, and that would be a for sure hidden talent.
That would be a hidden talent.
Yeah.
Would you take that hidden talent?
I think I'm more of like a transporter. Like I want to, like on a day like this when it's white everywhere and like really cold, like it would be nice to just transport somewhere for a couple hours, come back for practice,
So teleportation is your
teleportation.
Is your
yeah.
thing, huh?
Sorry.
So teleport to, Florida for like 10 minutes, get warm, come back.
Yeah. I could do that. I think I'd prefer that than seeing somebody's thoughts.
Yeah. Definitely be much more useful, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk basketball. Instead of,
we are recording.
We are recording. Let's talk some more basketball. Gillette. So we played them last week, Saturday, ended up losing 99-92. I mean, I feel like for 36 minutes there was some great basketball, and then it was just the last, maybe even last 2 minutes maybe.
Right.
That they just kind of come back and kind of take over. Let's talk about it. What did you see? How'd you feel?
I think it's one of those games. I felt pretty good going through the game. Like you said, I think we and both teams played really good basketball for the majority of the game. It was very much back and forth. I do think that we controlled a good portion of the game. It maybe wasn't by a lot. There were several lead changes. I think there were still like 17 lead changes or something and like 13 ties. So we're creating a really good series here with lead changes and ties and things like that. I think really suspenseful and enjoyable basketball to watch and two really good teams. But yeah, we just didn't make the plays we needed to down the stretch, and it wasn't an easy environment to play in. So when I was at Sheridan College as an assistant coach, we played at Gillette College on their opening night for the Pronghorn Center. They had been building it. Everyone had been talking about it. They played in one of the high school gyms.
Oh, wow.
Before that, and they had to have this branding of these banners that they would put on the wall, and they had a curtain on one side. And they had some really, really good teams. Teams that finished in the top 8 nationally at the national tournament. And so they went from that to this Pronghorn Center, which is a really nice facility that we've talked about. But that environment on Saturday was the closest, if not better, than their opening night. And I'm not saying they probably had crowds similar to that in the past for big games, but it was definitely a really unique environment for our level. There was a lot of people. I think they hit a 3 late where, it was pretty dang loud for a junior college game. So it definitely wasn't an easy environment. I think that did play a little bit of a role into us not finishing the game the way that we wanted to, but just a couple costly turnovers, some missed free throws down the stretch, really and that's, those things are little enough and big enough at the same time that they can cost you a game when it's like that.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the turnovers, because looking at the box scores, I don't know if they just didn't report it, but right now they're saying Gillette had 0 turnovers and we had, I think, 15. And so if that's official, that's a little bit of a big difference there.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume that they probably turned the ball over at least once.
Right.
Maybe they didn't. But if they had 15 extra possessions and we didn't get 15 extra shots up and it was that close, it probably says a lot about how we played when we didn't give them the ball. But I think 15 turnovers for us is, with the way that we play, it's not a crazy big number.
Right.
We know that we're going to have some with us trying to push the ball really fast. Like I said, I think they probably had more than 0. But it's Gillette's one of those teams, though, if you turn it over 5 times and they're live ball turnovers, they're going to score or get a really good shot all 5 times. So I think that's the challenge, right? Is like, it doesn't really, you could turn the ball over that many times to another team and, you know, maybe they're more slow paced and they don't really play well in transition. And so you might not, you know, see the negative impact that it has. But when you play a team like Gillette, like they're going to capitalize off those turnovers.
Because would you say they're pretty similar in style? Because they are, I think, what, first or second in scoring offense in the nation? Or somewhere in there, top 5.
Yeah. And there's, you know, and they do have a very like high-powered offense. They have a bunch of guys that can shoot. They have a bunch of guys that can make plays. I think a little bit of those numbers can be skewed sometimes with certain teams based on some of the opponents that they play and things like that. But, you know, they've had 2 high-scoring games with us. And yeah, so they do. I mean, I think pace-wise they want to play fast. They're not necessarily a half-court team. And when you have that many shooters, like, it's a little bit easier for teams in the half court to be able to guard those guys and things like that versus in transition, like everybody's scrambling and trying to match up. And when you got 4 or 5 guys on the floor that can shoot, sometimes you're just going to give one up.
Right. So, I mean, but overall, I feel like you played great. You led at halftime. It wasn't like, oh, they went crazy lead and you had to come back. I mean, it was just back and forth the whole game. It was great basketball.
Right.
Just, unfortunately, that last minute or 2.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And we talked off camera some of the things that kind of maybe not having the personnel on there that you might have wanted, and you know, not being able to do some of the things you could have done, maybe limit that and keep the lead. Just unfortunately, that last minute or 2 just kind of snuck up.
Yeah, it was hard. We had some interesting personnel things going on, and so it kind of forced us to play some lineups and some different personnel during key situations that maybe wouldn't have. And again, I mean, not to say those guys didn't do a good job. It's just there's different looks you can get depending on who's on the floor. And I think we were used to some looks that we just couldn't have based on a couple guys fouling out and some guys not being available. So,
right. Yep, absolutely. So you lose that one. Now it makes the race for hosting a little bit interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, instead of being able to kind of control your own destiny here, we kind of maybe have to see what Gillette does with the last. Because are they still a game behind or now they have 4 games left? I can't remember.
They have
5. I think they have 4 now, right?
I think they have 4. I think we both have 4.
Okay, so we're at the same spot now.
Right.
They were on the road though, while we're at home, which we'll talk about in a minute. T-Bird fans, don't worry. So it just makes it interesting. I don't know. It should be interesting.
I mean, I think ultimately, like we talked about, I mean, we would absolutely love to host. You know, just because it's just different. You know, playing a game not only at home but playing a game, you know, in T-Bird Gymnasium, and you know that we have great support. You know, it's a gym that we practice in every day. But also, I mean, historically, over the course of however many years, I mean, the host team doesn't usually win either, right?
True.
So there is some, and I don't believe in a curse. I mean, I would love to host, and I think we could win if we hosted it, and I wouldn't be thinking, oh no, the last time it happened, it didn't win or whatever.
Right.
But I also think like wherever we play, I think we're really confident. I think outside of our game against Western, you know, I thought we played pretty dang good basketball, and I think the difference between our team and maybe a lot of teams even nationwide is we really feel that we can keep growing, and as a coach and I think as players, when you drop a couple games, like you really have to like really deep dive and figure out what it is that you can improve on. And there's some things that we've been working on all year and we've been preaching all year, and I think our guys have kind of fought it a little bit, and like we've been able to win games without doing some of those things. And so I think guys are really bought in. I think they're really determined, just especially after the game at Gillette. I think they really are like, all right, coach, like, what do you got? And instead of reinventing the wheel and doing like new things, there's just some things that I would say, I guess maybe we've had in our back pocket that we haven't had to use, and we've figured out how to win without them. And so really excited just moving forward and seeing our growth over the next 4 games, and then we'll go from there.
I love it. Yeah, just peak at the right time, right?
Right.
That's all we're worried about. Yeah, these games matter for seeding and getting into the Region 9 playoffs, but ultimately it's the Region 9 playoffs that matter.
Right.
So, all right, so that was a great game. We're going to actually kind of sidestep here before talking about Northwest and Central that we host here. Once again, I'm going to talk about that. We need to give a shout out to Abdul Bashir.
Yeah.
He is committed So I believe they're number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 ranked Division I team, Auburn.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's interesting because as a junior college coach, like, you want to win and you want to win championships, and that's obviously from a team standpoint, that those are the ultimate goals. But when you talk about why, recruits and these players and these kids come and attend a junior college, like, they attend a junior college because, like, for whatever reason, whether it's academics or basketball-wise or strength or whatever it is, they're not ready for that level, and they need some time to develop in those areas. And, Abdul's somebody that, ironically, when I was still at State College of Florida, I was recruiting Abdul. And when I say I was recruiting Abdul, I called or texted him every single day. It could be 9 o'clock at night, and my wife and I would be sitting down watching a TV show, and I'd be like, hold up, I haven't talked to Abdul yet today. And he just was that special of a player and a person, and we developed this relationship through it where he pretty much stopped talking to everybody else. He was getting recruited by every junior college in the country. And so I was on campus here, staying at the Ramkota. I had my interview the next day here at Casper. And he kept asking me, like, when can I visit State College of Florida? Like, when can I visit? Like, I want to visit. Like, I want to make this official. And I was like, hold up. I got to tell you something, And he's the only person really outside of my family and maybe a couple coaches that are mentors of mine that I kind of asked for help in this process, that I told, hey, I'm applying for this job. And he said, would my role change at all? But I'm like, absolutely not. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, then I'll just come there. And so my first day on campus, Abdul Bashir visited. And I was so sick. We had just we drove across the entire country from Florida. Yeah. My dad booked a terrible hotel. He helped us move. Man, we had all these nice hotels, using all his hotel points. We get to somewhere in Nebraska, and he booked this room, and it smelled like mold and cigarettes. And I'm just like, and then the next morning I woke up sick, and we got to Casper that day. It was raining, so we couldn't unpack our house at all. Like, literally the people we hired to help move, they were like, oh no, like, can we come back tomorrow? Like, all your stuff. So we were like, yeah. So boxes everywhere, and I show up on here, and I'm so sick, and Abdul flew in at like 2, and I just had to like fake it, and he ended up committing on the visit, and it's just been a really fun journey. But to see a kid with his background and upbringing and where his family comes from and all the sacrifices his parents have made, like, to have him commit to the number 1 team in the country, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. So that in itself is such a win for Casper College and for him and for our program. It's just really cool to see all that transpire.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was not given this.
No.
He earned this. With his hard work. I mean, he plays great in games, and I mean, leader on the field, and on the court, and I imagine off the court as well. Yeah, no, people just don't understand really just how special of a human he is, and just for him to accomplish these things and to remain as humble as he is, and he's a phenomenal teammate. Like, guys love playing with him, and he's the rock of our program. And so yeah, it's a really cool, because people see in the games, but they don't see like the countless hours that he puts in outside of that, the countless conversations he has with his teammates about things. And yeah, just really happy for him. Well, we'd love to see him maybe win a Region 9 championship.
That would be great
before he heads off to bigger and better things.
That would be great. Yeah, I know for sure.
And well, in order to do that, we got to win our next 2, right? So we got Northwest tomorrow. We it Central homecoming on Saturday. But let's talk about this matchup against Northwest. What can we expect here? Yeah,
they're a good team. It seems like it's been a while since we played them. We played in the first game of the conference play. Yeah, it's been probably a little over a month, and they run some kind of unorthodox things on offense. They had some interesting defensive schemes for Abdul the last time we played. Like we told our guys, every time it's going to be a different game. I think Aaron had 33 against them and made 10 threes or something like that, maybe 34. But it's going to be a different game. I don't know what they're going to do in terms of, they might zone us. They ran a box and one. They played man at the end of the game. offensively, I think kind of what you're going to get out of them. They run a few different like continuities. Like I said, a lot of screening actions. They post up a lot of guys. I think we match up well with them. But a team you can't take for granted. I mean, they're 6-3. They're really good. They've got a bunch of sophomores. They have a coach that's got loads of experience, and to do it at a place like Northwest and have the year they're having. I mean, it's a special group for sure. So can't take it for granted. It's a big one. It's one that's kind of been circled for a while. So
yeah, I mean, you didn't necessarily. Yes, you won and beat them last time. It wasn't necessarily by a ton of points. I mean, they were in and hanging around the whole game.
Yep. No, for sure.
So, I mean, this is definitely, yes, Gillette was a great basketball game. This is going to be another one that if you're looking to watch some good basketball, this would be another one to do.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited for this one. I feel like the good matchup. Never easy to beat a team twice, but, you got to do it if we're going to hopefully lock in that second seed. And then we got Central. Yep. Homecoming. What's our matchup looking like?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a little bit similar to Northwest. I mean, just in terms of like they're going to run, like we know what they're going to run offensively. I think from a personnel standpoint, like they got some guys that can shoot it. They have a kid from Casper that's kind of an inside presence for them. Played at Natrona, is actually Kurt Paddock's son. Another team that probably wants to play slower than we do. I think on the year, I think we average about 40 more points per game. So two really clashing styles. We started out last time we played them, we were down 18-2, so that's always fun.
Wow.
Okay. But then we outscored them by a lot the rest of the game. I think at one point in the second half, we were up about 20, maybe a little more. So we definitely, after about the first 5 minutes, kind of dominated the rest of that game. But, like we said, I mean, every game's different. People are always excited to play Casper. They're always excited to play Casper at Casper. And so, we're going to get two good challenges and two more opportunities, again, for us to grow and improve in those areas that we were talking about.
So you mentioned a little bit about kind of that mystery of, we know what they're going to run offensively, so we can prepare for that. But the big question is, how are they going to defend us? How are they going to defend Abdul? How do you prepare your team? Do you just give them, hey, this is all the looks they can do? Or how do you kind of prepare them for that?
I think we just have to be better about dictating the way that we want to play. And so I know that's like a kind of a cop-out answer. I mean, to answer your question, we do try to throw a variety of different defenses and things like that at our guys in practice. But I think at the end of the day, like if our press is really good, it allows us to play offensively in transition regardless of what they're going to do. So like you can't do a box and one if we're blowing the basketball up the court every single time.
True.
And so same thing, like you can't get into a 2-3 zone or a matchup zone if we're getting, even if we get scored on, if we're getting deep outlets, like, and that's the thing that we really need to focus on is just like getting back to playing our pace. And I think you look at scores and you're like, oh man, we scored 92 against Gillette. I mean, I wasn't in love with the pace. We scored 86 against Western. I wasn't in love with the pace. And you could say that about a lot of our games, but again, like up until last week, I mean, we had been winning. And so it's hard to convince 18 to 21-year-olds that we're not doing a good job at something when we're actually, ending up winning and succeeding, right? So, but I think to me, it's like, it goes back to like win or lose, it's about how you play the game, And so I think this last, week, I guess 9, whatever it's been since Western Wyoming, has just put some things in perspective. And I think our guys kind of let that pendulum has now kind of shifted to the other side where they're like, all right, like we do need to make some changes and really lock into some of these areas that maybe we didn't, but still got away with winning.
Right. Well, they're here at home. Both tomorrow's game 7:30, Saturday's game 4:00. Make sure to come hungry for that one, both for basketball and for some chili, because it's always a fun atmosphere. Chili. Yep.
Chili. It's great chilly weather.
Oh, right now it is. Hopefully it warms up before Saturday. I don't want more of this all week.
No, that's why you were grumpy.
That is part of why I was grumpy.
Because you woke up and
it was cold.
Yeah.
It was very cold.
It's cold when you look out your window and you see it's cold. You know what I mean? Like,
it just looks crispy.
It just looks, like you can look out there and be like, wow, it's a cold day. I don't need to check the temperature. Like, I just know by the way it is outside my window.
Definitely tell it's cold by the way it is, right?
Yeah. That's why we need a host, because it's so cold up here. We're used to it. And
we're born into it. We're just adopted by the cold, right?
We're born into it.
Sure. Let's go with that. But anyway, Tiber fans, we hope to have you here tomorrow and on Saturday. But until then, we will see you next time.